Coogs House. It's March Madness. The focus is rightfully on the Houston Cougars that are in the Final Four, but one new Houston Cougar to town deserves your attention.
You are Locked On Cougs, your daily podcast on the Houston Cougars, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome to Locked On Cougs, daily podcast about your Houston Cougars. I'm your host, Houston-born teacher and coach Parker Ainsworth. And whether you're a Houston fan or just a hater came to by, thanks for making Locked On Cougs your first listen of the day, but you make your first listen each and every day. We won't join the conversation, but you don't know what to say. We're asking you to tell us where you want to go eat in San Antonio because the Houston Cougars are heading to the Final Four. But there's a whole other episode out right now on that. This is to talk to you a little bit about the women's coach coming in and being introduced officially on Tuesday, April 1st. Today's short episode is brought to you by Game Time. More on that later. But Houston has hired and will be introducing Matthew Mitchell to the fan and the Cougar faithful to take over the Lady Cougar basketball program. I want to talk about how I think this is an absolutely fantastic hire. He was most recently at Kentucky, 13 seasons, went 281, 125 while he was there. That's a lot of wins and not a whole lot of losses when you factor things in. Playing the SEC 2 times, SEC Coach of the Year at Kentucky, 9 tournament appearances with 3 Elite Eights and 2 Sweet 16s. Fantastic coach in terms of on-the-floor stuff. But I think the question we'll ask, okay, Parker, he had all that resume before he left Kentucky, and he left abruptly in 2020. What happened? And, there's I don't want to go into too much medical history and stuff with guys, but it did sound like Matthew Mitchell was in a non-basketball situation, suffered what I think I first read was called a concussion, and then it led to having to have some brain surgery and things like that. Big-time head injury. Big-time head injury in the fall of 2020. Once he recovered from surgery and was getting healthy, is on the mend. His doctors told him he needed to take some more time away to recover and get healthy, and take that time to rest. He had to that point loved living in Lexington. He has charities there. He's very involved in the community, and so he just took a step back at that point instead of getting back in the coaching ranks. The team and program were in good hands without him. And so he had taken a few years off, and he's kind of put his name into coaching searches as of late. And that name is now the name of the Houston Cougar basketball program. That is one Matthew Mitchell. Now, at Kentucky, Mitchell was there long enough to do a bunch of different things on the basketball floor. Did some space and pace, had some bigs, had some guards. His best player that I would come to mind immediately is Rhyne Howard. She's an all WNBA All-Star, played in the most recent 3-on-3 league in Miami. And she's really a tremendous name in women's professional basketball now, but she had about a year and an off season under him at Kentucky. I recruited her there, etc. And I think this is big for the program for a lot of reasons. But one, this is a name with rings and success. I mean, SEC type rings and those kind of things that will, I think, set the standard for Houston in the big picture. The Houston women's program is set up for success. They've got top tier facilities. They share all the same facilities as the men's program and benefit from it. So every time you put a dollar into a men's facility and part of the men's program, they get to use the same thing. And that's a big deal right now as you look across it. Bluntly, Texas is a great state to recruit high school girls basketball players. 8 of the top 100 in the 2025 class were in the state of Texas. 4 of them from the greater Houston area. And the number 1 player in America by leaps and bounds in terms of her rating was a woman in Lubbock, Texas, who actually played for an AAU team in Houston area, Cy-Fair, the Cy-Fair Pro Skills Group. Her name is Aaliyah Chavez. She's committed to Oklahoma. But had you had a program set up in place at the time, you'd imagine you'd have a pretty good shot at these women, right? And, there were 8 women in class 2024, 3 from the Houston area, and 3 were from San Antonio in the top 100. 9 in 2023, 3 of those women were from Houston as well. The state of Texas produces a lot of women's basketball players across the SEC and the Big 12. And Houston needs to get in the game in that sense. And I think hiring a coach that has done it, again, Elite Eight and SEC title type of seasons at Kentucky, I think that demonstrates a guy that can do it. He also brought in big time players. I mentioned Rhyne Howard, a WNBA player, women looking to the W for the inspiration, et cetera, like to go play like so and so. Ryan's a player they'd all know for sure. And Atlanta Dream, if you're a WNBA person, want to get in the league and get in on the action there. I think it's important too, though, and here's where I'll wrap before I do my little sign off. And I think that we've all experienced how much fun March Madness can be for this men's program, right? It's tremendous. It's life-changing. It's exhilarating. It's roller coasters. It's highs. It's lows. We've frankly only gotten to experience half the fun. Coach Hughes, a very nice person, and apparently he's one of the nicest coaches on campus when he was in Houston and all of that. But that wasn't a part of the women's season at the University of Houston. Frankly, they weren't looking at that as a real. I mean, getting to the tournament would have been a gigantic success in any of the last handful of seasons, right? They went on a American Athletic Conference tournament run. I was like, oh my God, they might win the tournament and get in the whole thing, and then they didn't win the championship game. But it was like that was exhilarating in and of itself. The women's tournament is intentionally set up with the men's tournament to be the same kind of buzz, and it's growing every year. The numbers are off the charts. This year, too, there was the Caitlin Clark effect from the last few years, but this year's tournament is also doing record numbers in terms of women's sports, and Houston hopefully can get in on it as it's on the up and up with hires like Matthew Mitchell to promote that program, right? I'm here to tell you the women's game is a lot of fun. It's great basketball. The basketball is, I mean, I don't know when you would have watched it or when you wouldn't have watched it, or what your thoughts on what women's basketball was or is, or et cetera. It's really good ball. It's really good, skilled basketball players that have played basketball for a long time, play it for a lot. They really worked on their craft. The coaches are really darn good. A lot of great strategists in the Big 12. You've seen programs turn around really, really quickly in modern women's basketball too. TCU 2 years ago was legitimately asking walk-ons for other women's sports on campus to come play because they'd had enough injuries and people like leave the team for transfers or whatever midseason. They didn't have a full roster. They had volleyball and other sports. Women were like, hey, I played in high school. I can go play that, because they were just Division I athletes on campus to come play, right? They just won the Big 12 tournament and got to Elite Eight 2 years later. Houston can do that. Houston can absolutely build that program. If TCU can build that program, there's no reason Houston can't. And I'm not saying that to put pressure on Mitchell. That's not quite fair. He can build the program how he wants to, but the potential is there. And I think that that's what's exciting to me about this, is having a great women's team on campus would be fun for everyone involved. I mean, everyone involved. It's an awesome, awesome season to follow. And it also is very, very much within reach. And hiring Matthew Mitchell, the resume he has from Kentucky, again, proven winner and a challenging league, took Dawn Staley in South Carolina toe-to-toe, took Tennessee and Candace Parker toe-to-toe. Pat Summitt was there. He coached against her toe-to-toe and did all those things. He can come do it at Houston too. And again, hats off to Nunez and the hire. Big-time win for the Cougs in that sense. Before we get to tell you about game time a little bit and get out of here, I just want to stress that part of the success here will be your support. There's reason to be excited. It's time to show it. Locked On Cougs, the Locked On Podcast Network, and I want to tell you about our buddies over at Game Time. best place to get tickets to women's games, to college basketball tournament, or whatever. Because imagine watching your favorite team live. The energy is just different live. Unforgettable moments feel different live. Getting tickets should not be stressful. That's where Game Time comes in, making it easy to ever grab last minute seats at unbeatable prices. You cannot get a better deal than Game Time Picks. They use all their algorithms and AI to help you find the best value in the venue. So check it out today. Take a guesswork out of buying tickets at Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONCollege for $20 off your first purchase. It's code LOCKEDONCollege, OCEDONCOLLEGE for $20 off. Download Game Time today. Last minute tickets, lowest prices, guaranteed.